JT Foxx is a private equity fund manager, a serial entrepreneur and investor in companies and property, and the world's #1 wealth and business coach. And if that wasn't exciting enough, JT Foxx has been described by Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak as the closest thing to Steve Jobs he has ever met. Hello and welcome to Talk Business with JT Foxx.
How are you, man? Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you so much. JT, I was asked when we started doing this podcast back in January who my dream guest would be. And after listening to you on Clubhouse back in January, I said you. So thank you for making dreams come true this morning.
I'll be honest with you, Steve Mandel, I had no idea that I was even going to do this until about 3 minutes ago. So it's on my schedule. So it was not even vetted by me. So I guess because you're on Steve and it was JT needs to do this. So give Steve the credit for being on this. I had no idea.
JT, I'm glad that we're making your dream come true by being on the show as well. Thank you for making us feel good about this.
Podcast, my first show ever. I'm just so nervous. I just don't know what to say. You have an accent. I don't know where that accent is from. I live in a bubble. I'm not wearing any pants right now. So things are going pretty well.
Well, we can put subtitles on if we need them. This is a London accent, JT, I'll have you know.
Listen, you lost your freedom day. So your freedom day is in 2029. So just be that.
Before we get into the juicy stuff, take us back to the beginning. What sort of kid was you? Was you one of those kids in the school playground that was like selling bubble gum for a huge profit, making lots of money at an early age?
I was that kid that everybody made fun of. I had a speech impediment. My whole life, people said I would make it. So I was the guy that nobody liked. I mean, some might argue say people don't like me now, but a lot more people like me than don't now. But back then, it was just swayed to the majority. So
yeah.
So looking back, that was something that really stood out. It was just picked on. Also, the guy that opened his mouth and didn't back it up. So a lot of lessons in life. And I was a CD student, so which just goes to show all the A students that were the glorified next big thing. They're going to change the world. They all work for other people now. And here I am today on your show. So I feel like now that I'm on your show, I have arrived. I can now.
You're clawing it back now, JT. Good man. I mean, this could be a huge encouragement for some people because, I mean...
who was the biggest guest you had on your show so far?
Of course, Steve Mandel, JT, right?
No, is that really Steve? Or who
no, we had Joe Foster, the Reebok founder, last week. He's pretty cool. Josie Valente, I know who you know. He's over in the UK, The Apprentice. But I reckon that you probably will be up there today, JT, as one of our biggest.
Well, I was just trying to figure out how I got here. That's just we should figure out. That was
competition winner.
Like I usually have like great gatekeepers. I'm like, how did I get on here? But you're a cool guy. So because usually we get so many requests.
I know. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, this is going to be a huge encouragement for some people because there might be people listening that have, got speech impediments now and will struggle with their communication. And yet here you are, you're one of the best communicators that I listen to online. What happened between back then?
I think the confidence. I think a lot part of confidence. I mean, we're told we're not good enough. We're told this. And I think, all seriousness, a lot of people like to lead with their sad story, right? Whatever happened to them in the past, and they still talk about it. You ask me, but I don't volunteer that type of information because everyone listening here has sad stories, had an issue, a problem, a family thing. And a lot of people are defined by their sad stories. I don't want to be a victim. I want to be a victor. And I think when you lead with your sad story, it's not like people go, oh my God, that's such a horrible story. Do you want to do business with me? Or do you want a partner? Or do you want me to invest in you? It's all like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's so inspiring. And you're like, well, do you want to buy? No, you know what I mean? So, because criers are not buyers. And so, but I think once people find out when you're doing business and people like, you don't understand, I don't talk very good, or I have a speech impediment, or this happened to me in my past. And I'll be like, yeah, you want me to tell you a story? And it's a good counterattack. And I think facts tell, stories sell, but people sometimes think their story matters. And yeah, so what? People picked on me. So what? I was bullied. So what? That, I was a loser. But my point is there's a lot of people that have it worse than me. Let's not remember, imagine being a kid and you have cancer. Like, imagine having no arms, no legs, being blind, being born in Africa in some of the townships. Like, at the end of the day, we like to complain by nature, but there are people who have it 1,000 times worse than I ever had it. So I'm very thankful. But I use that as a fuel to drive me because I've always wanted to be somebody, you know, and I know in a deep way we're all somebody, but I wanted to be somebody, I just didn't know how. And if you'd asked me, you know, I was just filming a movie with an A-list celebrity just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me I would be in a movie with an A-list celebrity after everything I've accomplished, I think it's just another part of my story. And now that I did it, I'm getting more offers coming in. And to be honest with you, being an actor is not glamorous by any means, right? It's not glamorous by any means. Yeah. You know, the waiting around, the reshooting, saying like we watch movies, we're like, oh, that's so cool. So I think that greatest skill is patience, which I don't have. I suffer from ADD. I just made that up, but you know, like every 5 minutes of my day is scheduled out.
Yeah.
And like even just waiting around, having to be on set the day before for fitting or COVID tests, right? Because there's extra COVID tests that you have to take because the unions are demanding that. But my point is I had to do all these things. Yeah. And the waiting around and I was just like, ugh, I just like, you know, like entrepreneurs, like go, right? There's always next guest, next thing, next meeting, right? And here it was just so slow. And it's not me, it's not my pace. Yeah. You know, and I was looking at the pictures. I showed you a couple of them before I went on, but of the set, and you look at the pictures and they look so cool. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't remember being cool when I was filming about it. Like people are like, oh yeah, because I was intense, and like they're like, what were you thinking there? I was just thinking, my God, I'm sweating. I'm wearing this military mercenary gear, like under the vest. I'm like sweating, you know. And I was supposed to be in one scene. It turned out I was in 5 scenes because they like me. And so, wow. But it's interesting because I start saying, hey, we should add this line or add that line, you know. So here you are. I had to like take on leadership. But I always take a look at anything I do. How can I improve this, or what can I do, and I'm truly an entrepreneur. Yeah, and that's really what I love. I mean, you know, for some people, like one of the actors there, it's like I just love it. You know, it's just, this is fun for me. And I'm like, like that's for him, but right. And so for me, business is fun. For you, interviewing cool people is fun. Like everyone's got their fun, but there's a lot of things I do that I don't like, but that need to be done. People say just do only what you like. Well, I wouldn't do much sometimes, right? Because so I think it's an important part of entrepreneurship.
Even before being in Hollywood and on set with a lot of these A-listers, I know, you know, you are known, like we said earlier on, as the #1 wealth and business coach. You've had lots of celebrity friends and clients. You hang around with some of the most world successful people. What are the most common traits that you recognize in all of these people, JT?
How come they're rich? I have no idea how they became rich, right? Like some, if I gave you some of these names, I'm like, I got no idea, right? The big celebrities, they're very sheltered. You know, you meet people and there's nothing, you would meet them and you have this illusion. Don't forget, I've done events with Pacino, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Wahlberg, Michael Douglas. Like I've had them all, right? And so you have this image of what they think in their head because we're a society that idolizes the celebrities, and you meet them backstage. Like I remember when I met Simon Cowell backstage at America's Got Talent. So nice and so docile, and then you know you see on stage like, oh, I thought he was an asshole, you know, but he's actually really cool. Because I remember I talked to him. I said, you know, they call me the Simon Cowell of the speaking world, and he goes, I'm so sorry for you for that. I was like, no, it's good. So and then you have people like Charlie Sheen, just nicest guy ever, but you have this persona. So I think a lot of people, and you'll see sometimes a lot of people, like they have different personalities, you know, for different things, and they know how to turn on a switch. And I think sometimes it's important to have multiple personalities, like an on stage, or, you know, I'm funny, entertaining. In business, it's very, very tough. And, you know, in personal, I'm like kind of like very, you know, I like to be alone a lot of times, introverted, because I'm rarely alone. So there's an opportunity to be alone. Yeah. So I think we have different shells, but I think at the end of the day, I serve at the pleasure of the clients. And if your clients are happy, then they're going to take care of your bank account and your success rate. So the level of your happiness for your clients. And, you know, I went straight from filming in Puerto Rico all the way to, I had a 3-day event, and clients were on a bus and they were taking a look at all the investments we were doing. And they were loving it. It's like so hot outside, it's muggy, and they're just having a good time. And as soon as I came in, and you just kind of go from one world to another world. Yeah. But I saw the happiness of the faces to see like, wow, I can do this, or, you know, looking at real deals. And so that was fun, you know? So, the more you're around these people, the more you just realize there's really nothing special. The difference is whether you take action, right? If you do nothing, nothing will happen.
Yeah. Having such a big network of these friends and associates, how do you keep that network alive? And what tips do you have for someone starting out wanting to connect with great people?
Well, you got to start like you. Okay, so let's take an example of you. Probably had you messaged us directly, we probably would have said no, right? Really, to be honest with you, right? And the only reason you got through the gate is because you used Steve Mandel, who ironically knew me when I was completely broke. I pitched him and he turned me down. And and I went out to build a whole empire. And now we do business together 10 years later. But he literally turned me down when I was broke. And because you had Steve, and Steve said you should do this, then my people just say, well, it must be Steve, right? That's a form, right? So to me, it would have been very hard for me to say yes. But to Steve, because you had him, that's that one level, right? Because you're able to go up from there as well. Just like I went to Bruce Buffer, voice of the UFC. I went to Michael Buffer, let's get rid of Rumble Guy. And this was before Bruce was even the bigger star he is in the UFC, because UFC is now huge. So you start small and you level up, but you try to go big right away. Like I didn't go for Pacino Stallone. Like I literally had to go through all these series of people before I got to Pacino and Stallone at the same event.
Yeah.
So,
as well as all of your other business interests that we've been speaking about, you're known as the world's #1 wealth and business coach. How did that all come about, JT?
I'd made over $10 million in real estate by the time I was 28. And so I was like, someone said, oh, you should teach. And it never occurred to me, to be honest with you. And then I saw this guy and I'm like, wow, this was great. And I started doing it. I did it the wrong way. And, surely I started, because I had a radio show. So I found it very entertaining to entertain people. And then it turned into business, like teaching business, teaching real estate, teaching everything. And then I started doing it in America, then Canada. Then one of the worst events I ever did was actually in the UK with Richard Branson. I paid $100,000 to speak with Richard Branson, but 20,000 people at the O2 Arena. Well, it wasn't 20,000 people. It was actually only 500 people. Right. And it was a disaster of an event. I lost so much money. But out of that, I met one person who 9 months later invited me to speak with Richard Branson in South Africa, ironically enough. And because of South Africa, that's where my brand exploded. I literally became famous because of South Africa, because the crowds, all the media outlets, and that led to me going all over the world, where we're in 54 countries. We have clients in 104. All that kind of happened. And I look back at my life, like some of my proudest accomplishments. I think South Africa was probably the biggest turning point. But who would have known when I was broke, I had no money, that, hey, I'm going to be in Africa. And then I remember one week, about a year and a half ago, I was in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Kuwait, Turkey, Israel. Like in 1 week. Yeah. Like every day, different place. Like unreal. Like you land and you're like, never would have thought the power of the world and social media, the ability that would even happen. I've done Japan, I've done China. So I've done Vietnam, I've done Iceland, or an event in Hawaii, which was actually one of my best events. Yeah. So I think that's the point, right? I think the point becomes, you just, by saying yes, every time you say yes, you open 3 doors, you open 10 doors, you open 100 doors, and then I would say, the fact that Germany, it was very hard for American to go, or anyone outside who was not German, to go into Germany. Yeah. And not only did I do Germany, but I dominated the 10 German cities. And then because of what I did well in Germany, translate to Vienna, Austria. And then they went to Zurich, Switzerland, right? Yeah. So you look at all this stuff. And I was on the road before the pandemic, 300 days a year. And I just got back from testing a tour in red states in America. And to be honest with you, I don't have it like I had it before. I'm on my game, like better. I would say I'm better now than I was before the pandemic. But the idea of just coming down, I mean, look, I'm wearing shorts. You know what I mean? There you go. That's as live as it comes, right? I'm wearing the Zoom look. I'm wearing, I don't need to, I don't need to go anywhere anymore. Yeah. And I think, so you realize the power of what you can now do. Yeah. And I actually, you complain about virtual until then you go back and then, just to go to a meeting, I got an airport, get on the plane, wear a mask, you gotta fly, you gotta, and you just realize that you can do everything virtual. Yeah. And in some instances, you miss the people contact, which you can still have, But I think business is going to be changed forever.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's how I kind of see it. So that's kind of how I came about. And I made magazine covers, and they said, JT, world's #1 wealth business coach. And no one's done 54 countries. No one has clients in 104. So, everybody calls themselves #1. They're self-proclaimed, but
that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because I mean, you was amazing on Clubhouse. I don't know how involved you are, because I've backed off a little bit from Clubhouse these days, but you certainly made the start of the year enjoyable for me, watching you on Clubhouse and listening to you most evenings. But as you would rightly pull people up, everybody is the #1 wealth and business coach. The industry is full of fake gurus and people that just haven't got your history and portfolio of success, but they're claiming to have. How frustrating is that for you, JT?
I mean, it used to be, but now the cream rises to the top. A lot of those people have come and go. They're not going to go one-on-one. They're not as quick. They don't have the knowledge. I have tons of businesses. And during the pandemic, I showed it completely repivoted. I do deals. I'm in tech company. I'm into everything. So I think the reason is Christ to the top. And I think eventually the thing about some of this app Clubhouse is like the audio reveals itself, like, by their stories.
Yeah.
Are they for real? Have they done it? Right? Or because on Instagram, everybody can fake it. Anybody can put themselves a picture, or everybody can do a highly edited video. So it used to bother me. But at the end of the day, there's a few big names. I won't name, I'll name them afterwards, but you probably know. So they came on here and everybody was kissing their ass. And not that I was kissing ass, but I was like, respectful is the better word. And then, they started getting a little overly confident, talking shit. And I both put them in their place.
Yeah.
Right. And I showed they really had no acumen. Like, they have no business acumen. I said, just nothing about more the carnival barker.
Yeah.
Right. You try to show off with what you have and the stuff that you have. Right. Because no one challenges you. Well, guess what? I'm challenging you. And then they kind of got both afraid. You know what I mean? And they try to go for a couple rounds and stuff like that. I'm not this student that are smart or successful. But you can buy success these days. You can buy the appearance of success. Fake is the new, right? Yeah. New is the new fake, right? So that's kind of.
Yeah. You've been interviewed tons of times before. What's the best question that you've ever been asked?
You've been asked everything. So just, I can say some of the worst things that happen when people say, like, what's your story?
Yeah.
Because you say it how many times, and the story could be looked at a million times. There isn't anything. A good interview, and I've done a lot of them myself, is when you ask questions that you don't expect to be asked. You haven't been asked before. Like, I can't tell you how many times people have interviewed Richard Branson. Like, how did Virgin start? Like, dude, there's 12 books about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where they ask like questions, and I think always asking questions that people have never had makes it more interesting for them, right? And for some people, it's more risky because they're like, oh, what if I don't know the answer, right? But I think that's the difference. So I don't know if there was a question that really could be like, oh, wow, that was a great question. There's nothing that comes to my head.
Sure. If someone watching right now really wanted to work with you, JT, how do they go about doing that?
If they go to my Instagram, JT Foxx Official, they can send me a DM. Or they should check out MillionaireFlix.com, MillionaireFlix.com or JTFox.com. But any of those websites do. And once in a while, I'll do some free coaching for free. So they go in my Instagram and it's all there.
Yeah.
And I also do a cool group like the Founders, where I bring 80 ultra high net worth individuals, and they will live. People can watch us do deals, which is really fascinating to see high net worth individuals sharing and giving deals together.
Fantastic. Well, JT, thank you so much for your time and how busy you are. Thank you that we've somehow managed to sneak onto your diary today. I really appreciate your time. Before we go,
go ahead.
Before we go, do you have any closing thoughts? And we're going to also make sure that we put all of your contact points in the description below as well. But do you have any closing thoughts before you go?
Listen, I think you're the living proof of, how to play the game and how to start and ascend your way to the top in anything. And I'm sure you'll be able to get some other people, because you had me as well, because they know how difficult I am to get. So, and I think that's what success is all about. You went out there and I think the example here should not be me, should be what you did to get me.
Yeah.
I think that's a better lesson, to be honest with you, than anything I said here today. So congratulations to you. And I'm glad I did it. And it's not because I don't think you're not important or other people are not important. Just every 5 minutes of my day is scheduled out.
Of course, yeah.
Right. And so, and then you got to, and by the way, this helps you a lot more than it helps me.
Yeah.
Right. This does, I don't know how many people message me or at all or anything like that. And even if you become huge, let's just assume you become huge. Nobody goes back to the original interviews. You become huge with the latest one, because if you take a look at your initial interviews, they're always like, no one goes back and rewatch that as well. But sometimes, you got to help people, but you got to do it the right way. And you did it the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people don't in there. They got to put the work. It takes a lot of persistence. And I just want to say congratulations. It was my honor to be on this. And in the end, just remember that success is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. And who you spend time with is who you become.
Top man. Thank you so much, JT. Appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.